Eventful news in baseball. Owners gave the players an offer for a 60-game season, which included full prorated salaries, and also said, for example, if we don't play, if we have to shut it down, if there's a second wave of COVID, you don't get paid. You get paid for the games we play. There were other parts of that as well. The players have voted no. 33-5, they have said no, that we don't accept that. Now the owners have responded. In order to produce a schedule with a specific number of games, we are asking that the Players Association provide to us by 5 o'clock Eastern tomorrow with two pieces of information. The first is whether players will be able to report to camp within 7 days by July 1st. The second is whether the Players Association will agree on the operating manual, which contains the health and safety protocols necessary to give us the best opportunity to conduct and compete our regular season and postseason. All right, David Samson, world champion team president with the Marlins, also a lawyer, also a very smart guy, also has a great podcast on baseball that we have here. Can you just sort of explain what has happened in the last 24 hours so that people who necessarily haven't done this or been through this can kind of understand it?
So let's go back 24 hours ago. There was an offer by the owners saying, how about 60 games? We'll pay you your full pro rata salary. We'll have the universal designated hitter for 2020 and 2021. And we will be willing to let certain players keep the money that we advanced as part of the March agreement. Remember, the owners paid $170 million to the players, which they have paid themselves because they have not gotten paychecks. So the owners said there's some of that money that you can keep. We're also going to have expanded playoffs. Then they said, are you going to vote? The players today said, we will vote. And we will say, no, we do not agree with what you are proposing. So MLB then responded immediately by saying, okay, now we have a March 26th agreement in place. That March agreement allows us as owners to implement a schedule. And here's where it gets tricky. Because every other network and everybody is saying, we've got baseball. They implemented a 60-game schedule. Look at the statement. That's not what happened tonight. What happened is the commissioner started the process of implementing a schedule. In order to implement, several things have to be negotiated with the players. First, when can they get to spring training? Second, is there an agreement on health protocols? Only with that information can the commissioner then set a schedule, which will have dates of reporting. It'll have an opening day. It'll have who's playing who when. It'll have a closing day, and it'll have a playoff schedule. But we are not at that stage. The commissioner and the owners still believe and still want this to end with an agreement, and it still could. What we learned tonight is that Major League Baseball is starting the process toward implementation, but they have not gotten there yet. And hopefully this will spur more rounds of discussion.
So they have not implemented a schedule. They have started the process of implementing a schedule. And by starting a process that doesn't prevent anybody from still negotiating and ultimately coming up with a deal that everybody can live with. Did I say it correctly?
You said it way better than I did, way shorter.
No.
Clip that.
That's not true. All right, so now, I guess my first question is, if the players just voted 33-5 no, and again, in baseball, as you pointed out, it's not like every player votes. The team reps vote. There are 30 teams, and then there are a handful of other people that have seats that get to vote on this thing, so 38 votes, not 600 votes. If they voted no, why would they now help out the owners and give them information and agree to show up to get them started down the process of ramming down their throats and implementing a schedule?
Well, that's actually part of the March 26th agreement, that the players have to be responsive when asked by the commissioner to start pondering what the return to play scenario would be. All that's happening is what we saw with the NHL and the NBA when the players and management collaboratively worked toward a return to play scenario. That is all that's going on in baseball now. We've had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of vitriol and anger, but really what they're talking about now is collaborating on a return to play scenario.
Okay. What if they don't agree on the process as they go down this road? What if the players say, no, we can't be there by July 1st, or they can't come to an agreement on the health and safety protocols? Then what happens?
Well, then there'd be no baseball, but there's quite a few steps in between that. I don't want to create the headline. When you say they don't agree with the process, that's not what they're entitled to agree or disagree with. The players already signed an agreement in March that said that there is this process. But now the discussion, if players say we actually need 10 days to say goodbye to our families, to get ourselves back to our home stadiums, we can't be there before July 4th. And then we need 3 weeks. They'll negotiate and say, okay, 3 weeks is about right. So maybe we can have an opening day around July 29th or July 30th. That's the sort of collaboration that's required. And then once that happens, that is when the commissioner would take all of that information, all of that agreed upon information, and then implement a schedule of a certain number of games, whether it be 54, 55, 60, 62, 42, hike. We don't know the number of games yet. He'll implement that. And then we'll actually have a schedule that has opponents and days and locations of games.
All right, so the players are obligated to act in good faith and do their best to respond to these requests for this to move forward, and we continue the process of implementing a schedule per the March agreement. Now, I ask you the same kind of final 2 questions every time we talk. Based upon what's happened, are you any less certain that we're going to have baseball, or are you still as certain as you were when you woke up today that eventually we're going to have baseball, whatever that percentage is?
The only thing that's changed is my shirt. That's it during the course of today. Because these are all processes that I knew were in play. This is the negotiation back and forth. Major League Baseball would like these moves from today to result in renewed talks and an agreement. The players at the end of the day would prefer an agreement outside of the March 26th agreement that govern all of these back and forth return to play scenarios. But in the absence of that, the owners voted today that they will agree to move forward under March 26th, and we'll see what happens. Remember, we have the specter of COVID that we can't forget in terms of how the schedule gets put together.
All right, you did change the shirt, but that beard got at least a 1/4 inch longer too since you, I mean, let's not discount that too. That thing is beautiful. I hope it never goes away. Like, I want baseball, but I like the beard too, so I'm a little torn here. You've been good at sort of being Nostradamus here a little bit. So what are the next steps? Likely steps based upon how you've been following this thing?
So the players now need to get together. The union reps for each team have to get together with their players on the team, and they have to figure out, is there any objection? Do you need 6 days? Do you need 8 days? Do you need 10 days? How long actually do we need to all get together? Because then you have to get in touch with your traveling secretary. The traveling secretary needs to arrange flights for all the players to get to their home cities. Then on top of that, the players are saying, which part of the health protocols do we not really want to agree with? Do we want more freedom when we're on the road? Do we want the ability to, for sure, shower in the clubhouse or eat in the clubhouse? Do we not want our own balls when we're doing warm-ups if we're pitchers? What are the exact parts of the protocol that the players think that they won't be able to handle? They're also thinking about what's going on around Florida and around several other states where many members of teams have been testing positive. So they're trying to figure out whether they're going to agree to contact tracing, which is also part of the protocol. So there's going to be some back and forth tonight into tomorrow, and sometime before 5 o'clock, there will be some sort of response from the union to Major League Baseball with an update. Here's what we think we can do. We think the players are ready to be there by July 2nd or 1st. We think that we have agreement with the following 10 or 20 issues that still need to be discussed. Then there'll be a conversation about how to get through those issues. Through all of that, I'm hopeful that they'll actually be able to agree on expanded playoffs and agree on certain parts of this overall discussion that disappear if it's just a simple implementation of the March agreement.
All right, so just to follow up on what you said before I get to the how does this end question, what right now in your mind is the single biggest hurdle between the two sides? Has that changed? And if, what is it?
The single biggest hurdle is that the owners have been worried from the beginning about starting a season and then stopping because they don't want to do that. So what they're trying to figure out is when there are going to be positive tests for COVID-19, which there clearly will be, what is the magic number after which a team would have to forfeit games, after which owners would say, this is not a representative team if 7 of my starters can't play because of contact tracing, because of positive tests. What is the appetite for both owners and players to have regular season games that actually may not be played by those players who you want to be playing in those games? Secondly, what do they think that their scientists and doctors are telling them about the COVID-19 and the wave and whether or not the postseason can be played? Because if I'm an owner right now and we go through the regular season and we play the full regular season, the players get their pro rata salary for the 60 games or 50 games, but then all of a sudden baseball is shut down and they can't have a postseason, that is disaster for the owners financially, and they're not going to allow it. So that is why there needs to be more information gathered about COVID and more togetherness and unanimity and unity between players and owners over how to treat certain potential eventualities.
All right, so it's more about now the health stuff as opposed to, say, just overall big picture money, how much these guys are going to make. All right, Nosha Samson, how's this whole thing end? Ball's in your court. Floor is yours.
Oh, this ends with me watching a movie and waiting to get back on the air with you at 2 a.m. when the next thing happens. I think this ends with more discussion tomorrow, and I still believe, and I'm sticking to it, I still believe this ends with an economic agreement where both sides can claim both victory and defeat, and then we really have to start worrying about whether a season can actually be played or any of the team sports can be played because of COVID.
Well done. Maybe the movie will be A Few Good Men. You want David Samson on that wall. You need David Samson on that wall. And if you need more David, one way to get it, with the podcast, nothing personal. Part of our great family of CBS Sports podcasts. You download, you subscribe, you win.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.